A fast and daunting track awaits the competitors as they land on American soil for the second time this season. Short, fast, and aggressive. If you don't come prepared to Road Atlanta, you'll probably find yourself sliding through that red Georgia clay. Can anybody step up and challenge Antti Lepisto this season? He's been an unstoppable force, but this track provides extremely fast-paced racing that can throw any skilled driver for a loop. Let's get ready to watch Round 7 of the Lotus 79 Grand Prix Legend Series. You'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joey Atterbury, and joining me in the booth is my co-commentator and expert statsman, Michael DeTurk. Behind the scenes is our director, Eddie Smith, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. The track in Brazelton is extremely well known in endurance sports car racing. Let's take a closer look with our track guide.
Welcome to Road Atlanta, the scene of incredible sports car racing for decades and the home to the Petit Le Mans. This is a track that has proven itself to be worthy of attention on a world stage. With it being situated only an hour northeast of Atlanta, Georgia, the circuit is in a prime location. But despite its flagship race, in contrast to the real Le Mans, the full course is a measly 2.5 miles long. The club layouts also clock in at just under 2 miles. Packed within this small lap length is a series of technical and challenging corners, some of which can be race-ending even when small mistakes are made. Turn 1 is a fast sweeper which compresses the car into the track, but the high speeds mean that when you go off, you typically go off in a big way. Turn 3 is notorious for its curved entry into a blind apex. Too far inside and you face a cut course penalty. Too far outside and you're likely to spin out. Then there's the unassuming Turn 5. The wide curving lures you into getting greedy, but the close walls on either side gobble up cars and spit them out as a crumpled heap. With all the tricky fast turns, that's not to say that there aren't passing opportunities. The main one comes at the chicane at the bottom of the backstretch. The huge downhill drop into the turn makes outbraking yourself quite easy though, so be careful. The whole thing wraps up with the frightening final corner. With nothing but a giant wall right to the outside as cars fly through at high speed, it's not often that wrecks are small. Boasting a wide swath of series over its history, everything from NASCAR to Indy Lights and of course IMSA, the main use of the track is SCCA events and driving schools. No wonder this place is popular both in real life and here on the iRacing service. Fans will no doubt get to enjoy many more years of action at this incredible track.
Well, this is one of my favorites here in North America, Michael. Road Atlanta, it's a gem.
Yeah, it's a real challenging track. We traditionally see it a lot more for multi-class usage, but it's going to be a blast watching these Lotus 79s rip around here today, seeing what some downforce choices some of these guys make and just how quickly they can make it through the S's while trying to reduce that wing to maximize that back straight.
It's going to be very, very fast around here, and can't wait to get it all going. But we also have the points championship. We've got the F1 and the F2 points, and currently it is Antti Lepisto leading the way. Look at that, 80 points over Juan Micosta, and then a big handy gap, 30 points to Gernot Friesche down there. And then Dylan Freckleton right on the tail of Gernot, so we might see Dylan Freckleton jump up into that top 3. Barry West also included inside the top 5 in points. Jean-Francois Boscus right behind him. Don't count out Sam Ryman, JDS, Yanni Lehman, and Sergio Fernandez all inside the top 10 here. But like I was mentioning, we've also got that F2 standings.
Yeah, we've got our F2 championship for drivers with less than 3K I rating, which is still a massive number, but less than 3K I rating at the start of the season, you get to drive in the F2 standings. So we've got Andy Hugel at 251 with Daniel Gallus in second, 58 points back. George Batev, 78 points back with Cam Porter in fourth, 86 points back. Bjorn Ackerman is 97 points back, really closely trailed by Keith Herner, who's only 2 points behind that, with Raleigh Wallbank, Andrew S. Thomas, Mark Krushank, and Byron Long bringing up 10th.
It is going to be fast-paced here at Road Atlanta. Going to take a look at exactly what we're going to be doing today. It's round 7 of 12 here for the Lotus 79s. 30 laps around this circuit here in Brazelton, Georgia. I mentioned it is fast. These cars are whipping around this racetrack. No spare car, so if you pick up any damage, well, you got to live with it out there. And there's a couple areas here, including turn number 3, where you're really jumping the curbs that you got to be careful of picking up any underside aero damage. Drive-through penalty at 17x, disqualification at 25 incidents. That's the standard layout here on iRacing for these Formula cars. And as always, we don't really have to worry about that. You can drive off the track. The bigger worry is if you run into contact with either a wall or a competitor. Michael, that tends to produce some pretty heavy damage that you usually can't recover from.
Yeah, these these Lotus 79s are, like all Formula cars, are sensitive to damage, but especially these, since they've got those big tunnels generating all that downforce in that low pressure zone underneath the car. You got to be careful on the curbs. You got to be careful that you don't bash a wheel into a side pod. It is just so easy to pick up a little bit of damage, and suddenly your race is just ruined because you've spilled off all your downforce, or you've really dramatically increased your drag.
So what we're watching right now is qualifying. The competitors have 8 minutes and 2 laps to put down their fastest time, and that will set the grid for our race starting here in just a handful of moments of time. And this, Andy Lapisto did not snag provisional pole on his first time lap. He's all the way down in 4th with a 1:10.97. That's 0.3 off of Juho Raina. Dylan Freckleton right now in provisional 2 spots. So let's see what kind of run Antti Lapisto gets out of turn number 7 there. This is the turn that leads you out onto that long back straightaway, and I can tell you from timing and scoring, he's tracking about 3/4 of a second to the good right now.
Yeah, we saw a quick flip there between provisional poles. Lapisto clearly had gotten the first lap in, and then Bittman stole it by a 100th of a second, and then we had Juho Raina jump up there, and Freckleton split them in second. So we're going to see Lapisto come across the line here, and is he going to take provisional pole? He is.
A 1:10.3 slots the number 1 car all the way up, but look at that, instantly taken away by Dylan Bittman. Now, that is a name I am not too familiar with, but he slides into a 1:10.2, so Lapisto relegated to that second place, and there we go. Dylan Freckleton, a 1:10.1, so the times are starting to come in, and we still have just under 4 minutes remaining. Typically, Michael, that second lap with these cars is a little bit faster. They have finally built that tire temperature and the pressure.
Yeah, you get that little bit of stability in the tire. It's possible to put down your fastest lap on the first lap, but you get that real confidence from the tire being under you on the second lap. And, as you know, Joey, that confidence is the difference between, hey, you know what, maybe the tires are a little bit better at the end of the first lap, but, that second lap, I can get down on the throttle and feel like I can really drive the car out of the corner. So you get that confidence, and you see things like we saw where Lapisto puts down a good lap and then suddenly gets jumped by 2 other people.
Oh, and I think that there's just a couple of other cars, and one of them actually just spun coming out of turn number 5. That was the 18 car of Daniel Gallus. So, yes, there are still some cars that could potentially put down a lap time, but for the most part here, with about 2.5 minutes remaining, we're done with qualifying. Dylan Freckleton will probably be your pole sitter at that 1:10.1. This is that number 18 car that I was just mentioning. Oh, and there's another big moment. So while it's kind of calm right now and we witnessed that, turn number 7 is going to be a turn that we are going to circle today. You got to be so gentle with that throttle pedal, rolling onto the accelerator at one of the slowest moments on that racetrack. Maybe, Michael, you can help explain it. You don't have any aero, and if you step on that throttle, it'll just wheel spin it.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at this car and say, oh, those rear slicks are gigantic. I ought to be able to just get on the power. And, to a degree, that is true. The Cosworth engine in the back of these is a little bit peaky, maybe not compared to a modern Formula One engine, but, you don't have as much low-end torque, and so you can roll the throttle. But all of our competitors out here today are really pushing the car. And so once you've got the car rotating to get that front end tucked in around 7, you're really walking the line of traction in first or second gear on those rear tires, and you're kind of spinning them the whole way through the corner trying to get that exit. And it's not hard to wash the car out onto the curb with a little bit of a slide, and suddenly you're going around and praying nobody hits you as they try to get the run coming out of 7.
We officially have our starting grid. We still had about a minute and a half, almost 2 minutes in qualifying, but the competitors found that little blue button that says ready to race up there. It is Dylan Freckleton, your pole sitter. He was very, very fast last week at Olton Park, and it's obviously carried over here into Road Atlanta. A friendly Dylan front row. Dylan and Dylan on the front row. Bittman lined up next to him in second place. Antti Lepisto in third. Juho Raina fourth. Florian Hoon in fifth. Timothy Vandenberg in sixth. Stefan Walder in seventh. Seamus Power eighth. Jean-Francois Boscus lines up ninth with Miguel Moreland next to him on row number 5 and 10th.
Starting row 6, we have Barry West, who secured that podium last week, or was it 2 weeks ago? Barry returned to the podium after a multiple-year absence, so good for him. In 12th, we've got AJ Roper. In 13th, Lars Watzig, and in 14th, Philippe Savoy. On row 8, we have Cam Porter with Yanni Peterson on the outside. In 17th, we have Anthony Woodward with Christian Nieb in 18th. And on row 10, we have Christian Kremer with Gerard Baudou.
The final 21st car will be that number 18 of Daniel Gallus rounding out the back end of the field. We've got just a few seconds here before all of the cars grid up. As Dave Chappelle would say, it's a Dylon versus Dylon front row here. And now we've got everybody. The revs are up. Just waiting for Barney to wave that green flag. And we'll have our standing start underway. A huge jump from the right side is actually Antti Lepisto that gets blocked up by Freckleton. He defends turn number 1, and here comes the other Dylan. This is Bittman going to go off course in turn number 1. Another one going off course up to the top of the hill at turn 3 now.
You know, people talk about Monza turn 1 being really difficult, but I think Road Atlanta and Mosport are two of the hardest ones to get that nose in and make sure you don't run off. It's so easy to just go a little bit deep into that corner while you're watching another car, and suddenly you've understeered off or grabbed that outside curb and you're taking a trip through the grass.
We go through turn number 6 for the most part. Everybody is on the racetrack right now, knock on wood. Flow through this slow creeping turn number 7 and stand on that loud pedal. Accelerate down this back straightaway here. And yes, this straightaway is incredibly long. Looks like all of the competitors today have the downforce cranked into these machines. Only about 160, 165 miles an hour before they jam on the brakes there at turn number 10. Now up and over the hill around turn number 12. And Michael, we're already done with lap number 1.
Yeah, we saw Lepisto run just a little bit wide there. It looked like he got the center of the car over the exit curve coming through the final corner, which is a dangerous place to be. Misses the apex a little bit in turn 1, but he's going to get the car moved over for 2 and just doesn't quite cut 3 as much as you can. But, you know, those first few laps when you're getting pressure and temperature in, you do have to take it a little bit conservative there just to make sure you don't die going over that curve.
Turn 3 and turn 5 are 2 danger turns on this racetrack. I mentioned 7 is important. Well, 3 and 5, you got to avoid those curbs because they can end your race in an instant. And here we go, another run out onto the back straightaway. And we saw Freckleton didn't really kind of extend the exit there. And you want to maximize your top speed. You always want to maximize that exit. And Antti Lepisto firmly in that slipstream, starting to close it down. Here's Freckleton moving defensive right in the middle of the road, but I think Lepisto knows he's got to get a little bit better run, a little bit more track position on Dylan before he makes that lunge into turn 10.
Yeah, I think this is probably going to start to favor Lepisto the more laps we go here, not just because of the slipstream, but I think maybe he's going to take a look into 1 here. Dylan's going to sweep way around the outside and chop him off. That was a nice defense. Lepisto's got to open that wheel up, and he's now under attack going into 3.
We've got 4 cars that just all sort of compressed up. Freckleton, Lepisto, Raina, and Hoon back here in 4th. So those are the 4 cars that have broken away. Timothy Vandenberg in that yellow machine just kind of trying to keep up there in the 5th place as well. So quite a nice race out front with these cars breaking away, trying to do what they can. And immediately what I see is a couple varying setups out front. And this time Lepisto doesn't get that run out of turn number 7. But if I'm right, watch that 2nd place car. He is going to close it in massively on Freckleton. I think our leader is running a slightly higher downforce setup. And yeah, look at this. 10 miles an hour difference by the time they stand on the brakes.
Yeah, before you made that attempt into 1 on the last lap, that was where I was headed with this, Joey, was you're exactly right. I think Dylan's got just a little bit more wing than Lepisto in the car, and we're going to see Lepisto try to make an attempt here into 1 again.
I think if Freckleton plays his cards right, he should be able to defend this just kind of based how these machines are. And the more that he kind of trips up anti-Lepisto there running at a 2nd, it just makes him worry about those cars behind him. So everything that Freckleton is doing right now, he needs to keep doing the rest of the race because he can come out the other side with a win. He needs to play the chess game. He needs to be smart about it all. And then you might see that checkered flag on the other side.
Yeah, you see him kind of increase the gap from like maybe 2/10 over Lepisto to right now we're looking at 8/10 coming out of 7. So he's really got that sector 1 into sector 2 set up for his slightly higher downforce combo, and he's just got to survive down the back straight through 10A and B and down the pit straight away. If he can do that and he can force Lepisto to not be able to attack into 1 and get the move done before they get the turn in, he'll be fine.
You know, I might have been a little bit generous with the 10-mile-an-hour comment. That time, it was 9 miles an hour difference on the back straightaway. So that shows you the different top speed levels. But here, Freckleton is just going to use all of that aero to his advantage and start to run away. I feel like where Dylan might not have as much experience as Lepisto here is being able to manage it over the next 30 laps. I think that Dylan out front is doing everything right currently. However, can he keep it up for the next 25, 26 laps? Can he manage the tire wear without overheating them here in the first half of the race? Or is Lepisto kind of content to sit behind Dylan right now, let him use up his stuff and just kind of save his tires for the last half, maybe the last 10 laps of today's race? Only time will tell, but that's kind of what I see on the horizon of what's coming up with the difference in experience between these drivers. Looks like we might have had a little bit of an issue here coming out of turn number 7. This is Philippe Savoy. Now, he was a little bit further up, started in 14th, but definitely had a little bit of a problem. And Michael, I think you might have caught this one. Was this as simple as just kind of standing on the gas?
Yeah, this was trying to fight it with several other cars, getting a little bit sideways through 7 and then getting out onto the curb. And you know how it goes when you miss the apex here, just try to get on the power. It's already coming around before he touches the curb, and there's no saving it at that point. So unfortunate, trying to get the car to rotate there once you've missed the apex, but pretty easy to do through 7.
Perfectly called there. Yeah, you got to avoid the curbs. I mentioned the curbs on 3 and 5, but I think when we talk about these specific machines, the Lotus 79s, you want to keep the aero platform stable and level. So anytime you're tilting the car, putting air underneath it, i.e. running up over a curb, it's going to upset the aero balance, and all of a sudden the grip level, it's not going to be at 100%. It might be slightly lessened, and all you need is a slightly lessened grip level in order to go spinning around. As we check in on one of our camera cars and one of our favorites week in and week out, Cam Porter currently running in the 13th place position, up 2 from where he started. But I tell you what, he has got a mirror full of Christian Neeb. That's the 11 car all over the gearbox.
Yeah, they come down through the final corner. Neeb's going to take a look to the inside. He's going to dive early. He's going to take it all the way down to the apex. Cam's going to open it up and just kind of follow him through. I was going to say Neeb's got to pressure him on the outside so he doesn't hang it around the outside, but Cam seems content to let Neeb through, and he's just going to follow him and try to catch back up to the field.
And just behind him was Barry West and Kremer, and they just had a little bit of an argument going up into turn number 3, and the big cat unfortunately lost out, had to go off the track. And I wonder if Barry is suffering from a little bit of damage. He's down 5 positions from where he started, and this season has been extremely positive for this driver. Like Michael was saying, yes, he was on the podium just last week at Oulton Park, had a terrific finish back there. And oh my goodness, I wasn't paying attention, but Lepisto must have got a fantastic run out of 7. He's side by side with our leader. Freckleton's going to try to defend, but on the front straightaway, Lepisto's going to have the run. Is Reina going to think about making it 3 wide? No, but Freckleton uses that aero grip and he defends around the outside.
Nice hold there as Reina's under attack behind him, and we're going to see a 4-way fight here for first place.
OMG, I took my eye off the lead for 1 second and it boiled over, but Dylan Freckleton definitely got the elbows out, flexing some muscle, no sort of contact whatsoever, but he realized he's got a higher downforce setup than Ante, and he used that to his advantage to defend in turn number 1, but I think this is going to be the problem area here. The back straightaway, especially with Lepisto starting to get that run out of 7. I think the number 3 silver car is just a sitting duck, and here we go. Lepisto's just going to drive right on around him.
Yeah, he got clear around him. Reina's actually taking a look. Dylan's got to defend to the inside. Dylan's got to get a nice run coming out of 10B here, and he's got to attack into turn 1. Otherwise, this might be over for him.
If he stays in the slipstream right here, it might provide him that opportunity, but it is so tough when that car in front has a lower wing level to get any sort of run on the straightaway. Lepisto jumps it up over the curbs. How aggressive is Freckleton going to be? He's looking to the inside of 3. Lepisto shuts the door on him.
Yeah, it was a nice try. It was exactly what he needed to do. As we see Lepisto blink out of existence here, this is terrifying going through the S's, but that was exactly what Freckleton needed to do when he saw him hit that curb. He's got to just hang it around the outside and try to outbrake him into 3. Unfortunately, it's so hard to get a pass done there.
And we still have lost connection with Ante Lepisto, our leader. You see Dylan Freckleton has checked up everybody. He's about 1.5 seconds off the pace because he's not sure if Lepisto is just going to reappear on the racetrack, and he has not officially disconnected yet. So here comes a move from Juho Reina. He's going to do the same thing that Lepisto just did the previous lap, drive right around Freckleton on the straightaway with that higher top speed level. And now Juho Reina is technically your leader that we see until Lepisto officially drops out of it.
Yeah, Freckleton's in a tough place here now that he got bottled up by Lepisto, and then it gave Juho the ability to stick right on him and get the run. Dylan's going to take another look up into 3, gets a nice run through 1. He's going to try to break on the inside, but no, he's going to get chopped off by Reina. But Dylan's problem now is that if Vandenberg and Watzig close back up on him, he may end up with the same issue where he's bottled up through sectors 1 and sectors 2, where he's got the downforce advantage, and then Rhino runs away from him on the straight. And if the 2 cars behind him have that same kind of slight edge in downforce, him getting bottled up through sector 1 and sector 2, he doesn't use that advantage, and they will just go straight past him as Dylan has a huge slide coming through 7. But those 2 cars behind him may just go straight past him on the straightaway.
To kind of further expand on your point, I think Freckleton's best strategy to avoid that is to attach a lure on the back of Juho Reina and do not let go. Because if he can help pull you down the straightaway, well, then you can use your downforce to just essentially glue yourself right back on the gearbox through the twisty bits, and then just kind of get the aid down the straightaway of being pulled along. It's a lot more difficult to do than it is to say and explain it, but I think that's the best defense Freckleton has, because it gives him a little bit more top speed, and you just see how aggressive Dylan is being over these turns. He's jumping over the curbs, really taking advantage of it, and it was 1.1 seconds to him to Timothy Vandenberg out back, and now it's up to 1.5, so I think as long as Dylan keeps doing what he's doing, he should be okay. But you're right, Michael. I'm going to agree with you. If he falls away from Juho, I think he's just a sitting duck on the straightaway.
Yeah, as long as he sits in the draft, I think he'll be okay. As you said, he had a huge send over turn 3 there. We saw him really jump that curb. which is a little bit easier when you've got some downforce, some wing dialed into the car. You know, the important thing for a Lotus 79 jumping that curb where you are detaching that aerodynamic advantage from the bottom of the car is you got to get the car straight and you got to have the wheel straight when you go over it. No inputs, settle into your line and just jump that curb. Because then when you come down and the car is straight, it's settled. You hope you don't get a little bit of chassis bounce in there, and you can get back on the throttle and really power down through 4 into the S's.
I'm really loving what I'm seeing out of this week's race here with these 79s at Atlanta, and not to take anything away from Antti Lepisto, but he kind of made it a snooze fest last week at Oulton Park, kind of putting 1 second per lap on everybody. So this, what we're watching, is actually the battle for the final podium position, and they're not far behind Dylan and Lepisto. You see the 2 leaders just up the screen here, so very, very close lap times being run from 3rd, 4th, 5th, and even 6th place. So this includes Timothy Vanderberg, who's that yellow car, Florian Hoon in 5th place, Stefan Walder back here in 6th, so Lars Watzig also involved in this. A few names that are not regulars here in the 79s. Lars stands out to me. I've seen Florian in and out of here. Same thing with Walder every now and then. But, you know, Stats Man, you're familiar with all these names. Is Lars a regular here with the 79s at one point?
I've seen him in a few sessions. You know, I haven't been particularly active myself recently, but I've definitely seen the name before. And for, you know, this group that we see fighting over 3rd place, all they need to do is a couple of little side-by-sides here, and we're going to see Power and Bittman, you know, get back into this fight really quickly if there's a little bit of side-by-side for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. So wouldn't take much for this 4-car fight to turn into a 6-car fight, especially since we know Bittman has the pace. I mean, he did qualify, on the front row.
Yes, you're right. Bittman is definitely making his way up a 110.4. He's actually the fastest car on the track. A few cars back, probably about 5 or 6 seconds back from this. But this group of 4, they're actually catching the leaders. It was 1.2. It grew to 1.5. Now it's kind of back to 1.4. But the hard data tells me our leader, last lap, a 110.99. Vandenberg in 3rd, a 110.7. So as long as these cars continue to do what they're doing, they'll close it in. But Lars is not happy with the pace that Timothy is putting down. This is a fight for the final podium position. Watzig here in this black and green car, putting all sorts of pressure on Vandenberg right in front of him. Got to be careful up over turn 3, and all of them avoid the curb and poking the nose down to the inside of the S's. It's not a passing opportunity, but it's just filling the mirror of that competitor in front of you, trying to force him into a mistake, and there you go. Gets the exit out of turn number 5, looks towards the inside of 6, and slides it down on the brakes. And actually, it was Vandenberg got taken 2. Hoon goes up into 4th as well, so move Vandenberg back 2.
Yeah, Vandenberg was struggling a little bit there. You know, he through turn 1, he clipped that inside curb a little bit, and it gave him a little bit of a bobble mid-corner. And then through turn 3, I think the car, you know, was still a little loose, and he was a little unsettled behind the wheel and didn't quite get back on the power quickly enough. And then he came up through 5 and clipped that inside curb, and the car got loose again. And that's how we saw Watzig get that run into 5. So I think he just kind of got unsettled a little bit. He's just got to take a few breaths, back off here, get the car underneath him. And, you know, he thankfully didn't end up losing that 2nd place. He got it back on the straightaway there. But he's got to close back up to Watzig and keep that pressure on.
I think this is another case of differing setups between the cars. I feel like this yellow car is just running a much, much lower downforce setup than anybody around him. Maybe too much of a low downforce, because you see how much he loses in the corners and how much everybody stacks up behind Timothy. So let's watch coming out of turn number 7. We are riding on board with Stefan Walder in the number 5 car, and let's see if that yellow car 2 in front just starts to rocket down the straightaway. And sure enough, there he goes. Just say bye-bye. He puts up the peace sign and drives away. Yeah,
Vandenberg had a bad exit out of 7-2, and he's still just gapping the 2 of them behind him. He missed the apex and got sideways coming out and then still opens up the gap. So I think it's a case of, he got those tires a little bit flash hot with those bobbles when Watson got that pass done. And as I said, he's got to take a breath. He's got to settle the car underneath him as we're going to see him move here into one.
Yeah, Walder's going to go around the outside, or at least try to go around the outside of Florian, but the black number 7 defends that 5th place position, so they go up and over the crest here and dive down the S's one more time. But yeah, I think that Walder was climbing all over the back of him, coming out of turn 7 that previous lap, had the look there on the outside. Oh, and there's a problem right in front. That is Florian Hoon going over the exit curbs, upsetting the car, and thankfully did not find himself in one of those concrete walls.
Yeah, that's a nice save there. That's a really easy spot to end up in either the inside or outside wall as you bottom out a little bit through 5. So we're going to see him come down through the S's here. Gets nice right, left apex, a little too much curb on the left, comes back, ooh, lots of apex curb, and then just bottoms out on the exit, goes for a ride through the grass. But what a save, touches nothing. Maybe a little bit of bent front wing, but really, really nicely saved there.
And yes, folks, that turn 5 exit curb, even when you've gone over that little rumble part, it is extremely bumpy out there. So great job to hang on to it. And this is Bittman right behind Seamus Power. So this black and blue with purple highlights, Dylan Bittman, remember, he was starting on your front row, had the early off in turn number 1, and he's just kind of been crawling his way back ever since. And he is one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, a 110.6, choked up behind Seamus Power that last time around. And actually, Seamus is catching Stefan Walder. So right after Florian Hoon had a problem, Stefan Walder had a problem himself, and now he's fallen through. So move Bittman and Power up, and I expect Bittman to get the draft down the back straightaway.
Yeah, Bittman's going to get a good run here. So we're going to watch a replay of, it was missing turn 3 for, was this Walder, I believe?
Yes, yeah. And
so
this is so easy. Go ahead, Michael.
No, I was just going to say, it gets a nice run through 1. You come up through 2. You're a little unspotted. You try to grab the entry to 3. Just doesn't get the car slowed down and takes that alternate chicane. Going to have to serve the slowdown, which is why we saw the 2 cars behind him just close up real quick.
And folks, we were talking about Real World Road Atlanta experience before we went live here on this show. And I can tell you for a fact that turn 3 in iRacing is a serious doozy. It is so unsighted with that turn 3 apex curve, no matter how you approach it. And I can tell you in real life, it is much easier to spot. So if you drive iRacing in Road Atlanta and you think, hey, I can never hit turn 3 right, yeah, it is just kind of one of those things in the simulator that is much, much more challenging than what it is in real life to be able to spot all those visual cues and be able to nail the line every single time. And I'm actually surprised that Bittman hasn't been able to get around Seamus Power here. Maybe this is the opportunity, but I feel like this is just another one of those cases where Power's got a higher top speed than what Dylan does.
Yeah, he's going to have to send it into turn 1 or to 10A here. We got a Dylan with a spin.
Oh, this is Freckleton, and remember, he was chasing down Lepisto out of the lead. He was doing such a good job hanging out about 4 or 5 tenths back the whole time. We're going to get a look at this GSRC replay, and oh man, did he make wall contact? He's just going to get loose. He's going to try to put the power down right here. He gets loose, tries to save it, and oh, he snags that right rear on the concrete wall. So hopefully he didn't pick up any serious damage. He is still out there running in 4th place on the racetrack. That
rear toe link has got to just be shaped like an S at this point.
And you know what? We also just had a problem with Dylan Bittman on the racetrack. So if you are named Dylan, today is not your day. This is running over the back of Seamus Power in the top of turn 3. So Seamus just gets choked up on the exit here. He's a little narrow going in, and Bittman tries to capitalize, but Seamus is still there on the racetrack, and he can't just disappear.
Yeah, definitely not spitting the hot fire on that one. But the Dylans are not having the best day. You know, Power definitely had to get out of the throttle there. He was running up on the left side curb, and you can't put the power down when you're half straddling that curb. You're just going to spin. So Bittman tried to get the run, but unfortunately, if power had been like maybe half a car length ahead, I think Bittman could have powered down and tried to go around the outside. But where his car was located, he, almost is a stationary object for Bittman there, who's getting a good run through 3 after he pinched him off on entry.
Juho Raina continues to lead the way. I think I called him Anti-Lepisto earlier, but Juho Raina just continues to lead. Stefan Walder back here is now the car behind Seamus Powers, so you got to wonder if Seamus is also carrying any rear damage after having that car leapfrog up and over the top of him. And to revisit the point that I was talking about, if Freckleton can kind of manage all 30 laps of it, I think that he was in such a great position. And I don't know if you were watching that gap at all, Michael, but he was flirting with closing it back in, down to 3/10, down to 2/10. And it is so exciting to see that gap close, and you want to push that little bit harder, but the management is still more important, and just a little bit too hot with those rear tires, a little bit too happy with that accelerator pedal, and unfortunately he went around.
Yeah, he also got just a little bit too far on that 10B apex curb, and I think that unsettled the car a little bit. It did look stable at that point, but I think it was maybe because he had just induced a little bit of understeer on that front right tire as he was going through the dirt. And I think that, combined with trying to push the car to get it to rotate, just got that little step out. And from there, it was, one issue cascading into the next, and that led him into that bridge embankment wall.
Well, watching Yanni Peterson up here, he is chasing Daniel Gallus. Remember that black number 18? He started all the way at the back of the grid. He is up 8 positions from where he started. So Peterson trying to demote him down to only up 7 positions and trying to get around him, battling for 13th on lap number 21, approaching turn number 6 here. Let's see who gets the run out of this very, very crucial turn 7. Both of them pretty equal distant. Actually, Daniel Gallus had a little bit of a squirm, but it looked like it hooked up pretty good. And I'm watching the top end speeds, and the car behind of Peterson definitely has faster top end, already 4 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour faster, but it's all that balancing act. Yes, he's faster on the straightaway, but can he hang close enough with Gallus in the corners to take advantage of that top speed that he's got?
Yeah, getting that run down the straight in the draft definitely is an advantage. Behind him, we also saw Barry West going side by side with Kremer, so having a nice fight, a couple nice fights here in the midfield for 14, 15, 16, 17. Gets a little loose on entry and also misses the apex in front of him, so these two are just trying to battle it out here and see who will make less mistakes so that they can finish in front of the other one. Obvious, I know, but but as they go through 5 and head down into 6.
Well, I wrote that down here, Michael. So what you're telling me is that in order to win, you have to finish ahead of the other car.
Yes, that
okay,
is.
All right.
Yep, you got it. Absolutely.
Okay.
Not only do you have to finish in front of the other car, you have to finish the race as well.
Okay, let me underline that part. All
yes,
right, I got
yes.
that. I got that taken down.
Don't crash. Finish in front of people you're racing against. Those are the 2 keys, Joey.
Well, back on topic over here, Peterson still continues to chase Gallus for what is 13th. Nothing has changed up front. Juho Raina continues to lead the way, spanking down fast laps that are approximately 1 second faster than anybody else. And actually, there goes Peterson right in front of Gallus there. So he makes the move going down the hill, and he's going to take advantage of that top end speed that he's got now, see if he can start to run away a little bit from this. And this is Lars Watzig. So the black car of Lars in the number 9 is currently being hunted down from that yellow number 16, Timothy Vandenberg. Timothy was about a half a second faster that last lap, but we're coming to about 6 or 7 laps to go here. So if there's going to be any sort of moves being made, Timothy's going to have to make them pretty quick. But once again, that lap, another 2.5 tenths faster. So we've got a battle for second.
Yeah, and miraculously, Freckleton is still hanging on. Clearly, that rear toe link did not take quite the hit that it looked like it did. So all he needs at this point is the two in front of him to battle for one or two corners, and he'll be fancying his chances at a podium again, which to get, he would have to finish in front of the people he's racing.
Yes. Well, I've got that circled over.
I'm just making sure. I want to make sure it's on the checklist.
So Freckleton, who we are riding on board. Oh, and did you see that huge tail wag out of the yellow car? Yeah, right in front of him. So Vandenberg did not get the exit that he wanted. That's really going to hurt his overall lap time. But this car, Freckleton, a 10.2 last time. Vandenberg in front, a 10.3. Lars, a 10.5. So yes, these three cars are kind of all catching each other, and they're all going to arrive at each other's wings at the exact same time with about 5 laps to go here at Road Atlanta. It's just who can get up there and actually challenge somebody. I think if I'm going to circle one of these drivers, it's going to be Freckleton, but how aggressive does he want to be after he lost it himself in a self-spin?
I mean, for me, Joey, if I'm Freckleton, I'm not looking at trying to get back to second, and I'm not going to catch Yuo Reina, who just keeps checking out and throwing in fastest lap after fastest lap here after the pressure was off. If I'm Freckleton, I am 100% trying to close up on Vandenberg and grab that third place back. I would rather take a podium rather than, hope as we see Freckleton get a little understeer and then a little oversteer. He's going to have to get behind Vandenberg here. We see him really close, but we know he has more downforce. So it's going to be try to send it on Vandenberg and then survive for the remaining 2-3 laps.
Something that I just realized, Michael, is this yellow car of Timothy Vandenberg, or even though he's in third place, he is an F2 points championship driver. This is a huge points day for Timothy out there. So it's a big possible points day for Juho as well as Freckleton. But when we're looking at the F2 points championship to be in the top split, inside the top 3, this is a huge opportunity to snag valuable points.
Yeah, huge points haul. But for me, Joey, whenever I race this series, I was never thinking about the points haul. I was just thinking about, can I beat the 7 Finnish drivers that are at the top of the stats sheet? So right now, if I'm Dylan gets so close. But if I'm looking at this as Vandenberg, I'm just trying to hold third. I'm not concerned about getting good points out of the day.
I think that was just a little bit of miscommunication between the drivers there. Dylan was looking down to the inside, but he wasn't going to make a lunge, and I think that Vandenberg realized that he's just got such a high downforce setup, talking about Dylan, that he was going to leave the door open, and then Freckleton cut back over to the racing line at the last second to maximize his grip levels, and man, almost ran right into the back of that yellow number 16 right in front of him. So you just got to be careful not to trip over yourself. And now I actually see Anthony Woodward right in front of him. That's that blue lapped car. So not only are they going to have to fight amongst themselves, they're going to have to navigate around a slower lapped car at one of the narrowest, fastest sections of the racetrack here, heading down through the S's. As long as Anthony can get through turn number 5 without any issues, I don't see him being a problem, but he stays on the racing line. Oh boy, Michael, this one might get interesting exiting 7.
Yeah, this could actually hurt Dylan, where Vandenberg's going to get slowed up just a little bit on the apex from a little bit of dirty air. But now Vandenberg, who we know has less wing, also has the draft from a lapped car. And yes, Freckleton has a double draft here, but the lack of wing from Vandenberg is really going to help him. But is the lap car going to get out of the way? He is. He's going to slow up and let at least Vandenberg through. Hopefully Dylan as well. He does. Great job there managing traffic, but Dylan's got a little bit of a gap here from that draft game that Vandenberg got.
Tip of the cap to that number 12 of Anthony Woodward. He did an excellent job. I thought that maybe he was going to choke him up in 3, then 5, then 7, but he stayed on pace and then pulled over at a very safe area not to affect this battle. So give credit where credit is due, and that's not always easy when you're a couple laps down.
Yeah, great job. Great job there managing traffic.
It really was. And so Freckleton now still on the back, and they're going to deal with more lap traffic right in front of him That's Philippe Savoy. He had an early off in one of those sections, and he is going to stick on the racing line once again here through turn number 6. So let's see if it chokes up in turn 7. Actually, Vandenberg misses the apex just a touch, but again, he's gonna be safe because he's got that lower wing level. Being the third car in line, you see mega top speed, but it is so tough when car number 2 also has that draft.
Yeah, this is a classic problem that I always have in Lotus 79 at Road America, where I run just a little bit more downforce than my competitors, and so I'm stuck on all those long straights, and inevitably I always end up having to send this ridiculous, 6 car back dive bomb into turn 5 and hope they see me and don't just turn in.
Oh, Michael, you silly goose. You got to know qualifying high downforce at Road America, low downforce for the race is what makes a happy race car out there.
I just want high downforce all the time. That's why I love Long Beach.
Oh, and we saw Dylan Freckleton right there loving the high downforce. He took a look around the outside at turn number 4, which is not a passing opportunity, but he almost ran over the back of this yellow number 16. So I think Dylan just kind of getting a little bit more desperate because we are only a lap and a half remaining for these cars. If he doesn't make a move soon, it's not going to happen. And here we go. There's the slip up from Vandenberg coming out of turn 7. He'll stay at this stiff arm length all the way down the back straightaway. Actually, no. Yeah, you called it, Michael. He lifted. He let Freckleton have that spot.
Yeah, I'm very surprised by that. Yes, he's going to get great points out of it, and he's absolutely thinking season long, but that's not how I race. I think here in the now, I want this position. I want this podium, but a smart decision. He knew Dylan was all over him. I think they had made a little bit of contact in 5 earlier when there was that mix-up, but he's playing the points game. Good for him.
And I think the easiest way to think about that is when you've got a car in your mirrors, it's a bit like anxiety, right? It's somebody looking over your shoulder, and as soon as they're free and clear and you let them by, all of that anxiety is lifted off and you can just kind of breathe and do your laps again. And this is one driver that has just done laps out in clean air for the most part. He's got a lapped car right in front of him, but he has taken the white flag already. Less than half a lap remains here at Road Atlanta for our leader, Juho Raina. We had an internet problem from Antti Lepisto a little bit earlier on, who was leading the race at the time. Juho Raina passed Dylan Freckleton fair and square on the back straightaway, and ever since, he has said goodbye to everybody. The number 2 car finding victory lane in Brazelton.
Yeah, nice drive. You could see as soon as he got into first, got a little bit of clean air, sets the fastest lap again on the last lap of the race, but Juho just kind of checked out, especially once Dylan had that issue coming out of 10B.
Lars Watzig, a new name for me, comes home second on the podium there. Fantastic run. Dylan Freckleton will finish 3rd place there as we watch all of the other cars come through. AJ Roper, who we didn't really mention at all today, comes home in 7th with Walder right behind him. You see him taking the off-road route, kind of celebrating after they cross the start-finish line. And got a bunch of other cars coming down the back straightaway, going through 10A, 10B, crossing the start-finish line. And what we are going to do right now, folks, is take a very quick break and be right back with your official results and any post-race interviews. An interesting race in Georgia finds Juho Raina on top of the competition. Your winner finds victory lane again. And we're going to go through our official results real fast before we get to Juho's interview. Got Lars Watzig finishing in second place, and also our biggest mover up 11 positions from where he started. Dylan Freckleton, after having that spin, finishes in third place. Timothy Vandenberg holds on to fourth. Florian Hoon in fifth. Seamus Power sixth. AJ Roper finishing in seventh. Stefan Walder, another one of those cars with an up and down day, finishes in eighth. Christian Nieb ninth, and Jean-Francois Boskus rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, we have Miguel Moreland. 12th is Cam Porter. 13th is Yanni Peterson, who had that fight with Daniel Gallus throughout the race that we saw. Last car on the lead lap in 15th is Barry West. And then a lap down, we have Christian Kremer, Philippe Savoy, Anthony Woodward. And then 11 laps down with the retirements, we have Baldu Bittman, who unfortunately started on the front row and fell back to 20th. And 21st is Antti Labisto with that unfortunate disconnect.
We already have Mr. Raina in the booth here with us, and this one kind of got dropped into your lap. Now, you passed Dylan Freckleton fair and square on the back straightaway, but what was your overall impression of today's race?
Really fun. Nice to be back racing the broadcast race. But I feel really bad for Antti. Really rotten luck, and I don't know. I feel like I could have won the race if he stayed to the end, but at least we were robbed of a really good battle, so it's really unfortunate.
Once you got out front and were in that clean air, you were obviously setting the pace, but were you worried about Freckleton at all as he started to kind of close it in those couple laps right before he had that spin?
For a lap or two, but to be completely honest, I noticed pretty early on that I have so much more top end speed that I think he was within 3/10 or so at one point coming onto the back straight, and I might have even extended the gap on the straight. So I thought that I can just chill and not make any mistakes, and I should have it.
We talk a ton about the different setups and the different downforce levels. Maybe to kind of pry into your Rolodex a little bit, do you use different setups for qualifying versus the race? Not just a different fuel level, but do you actually have different setups between the two?
Usually I have just a bit more wing. This week and today, I literally just took the full fuel out and used that. So it was practically the same setup. I put 2 clicks of rear wing to it so it doesn't go away on the curb, and I can get a bit more comfortable on the throttle.
And
But
that makes
otherwise, it's the same.
And I was just going to say that makes complete sense, just have the confidence to really be able to push the car in qualifying. A terrific performance today, Juho. Is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to?
Obviously for Antti, again, feel really bad for him. He could have won the race. So, but thanks to the community, of course, for really fun racing. And oh, hi, Michael.
Hi.
Well, that was Juho Raina driving the number 2 and your race winner here at Road Atlanta. And I believe, Michael, you have caught up with another podium finisher.
Dylan, what a roller coaster of a race, from pole down to making contact with the bridge, coming out of 10B and then back up onto the podium. You did not give us any shortage of excitement today. Did you have a plan for attacking Juho back again to try to get the lead back, or was it just full push and hope he makes a mistake?
Yeah, I was just pushing as hard as I could, seeing if I could force a mistake. which I did, but it was my mistake. But yeah, and I got really lucky because that was quite a big hit on the wall. I thought my race was done, but got away with it somehow.
I thought for sure your rear toe link was just going to be in an S shape and you were going to fall backwards through the order, but we saw the lap time stabilize. You clearly didn't let it fluster you that badly and charged back to third place. So nice job. Right at the end there, you were hanging right on the back of Vandenberg and really jumping that turn 3 curb hard. Were you trying to get the run down into 5 so hopefully you could pass him before the straightaway and force the side-by-side into 10? Or was it just kind of the same thing as Juho where you went, he's got less downforce, I just have to hope for the mistake?
Yeah, it was really sort of hoping for mistakes. I deliberately put a load of downforce on because I tried it with sort of less wing. And I was about half a second a lap slow, and I just thought I'd rather have the downforce and have it just nice and fun to drive, and then I'll just deal with the fact that everyone just comes flying past me on the straight. But yeah, and I think it worked out. I don't think I'd have done any better if I'd taken any wing out. I don't think I'd been able to live with Juho or Antti. So I think it was the right decision for me.
No, I think it was a good decision. I think if Antti hadn't disconnected, Juho may have gotten past you on the straight, but then you could have watched those two bicker and maybe picked up the pieces after the fact. So it was entertaining to watch. So thank you for that. Next week, we've got Portimao, Algarve in Portugal. Are you excited for that? Do you think that's going to be a fun challenge in this car?
But I'm busy next weekend. I'm really annoyed because I was looking forward to doing Algarve. I missed it when the IMSA Vintage Series went there a few weeks ago, and I thought it's okay, I'll get to do it in the Lotus, and then I'm busy next weekend as well, which is annoying. I'll have to do a race in the week because it's such a fun track.
I was going to say, clearly you just don't like Portugal. I'm kidding. Well, nice job today. Is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Just all the drivers. It's a great community, and you guys as well for putting on a great broadcast.
Thanks, Dylan. And next we've got Joey, you caught up with Cam.
Yeah, Cam Porter is joining us in the commentary booth. We've got your chair warmed up for you. How's it going today?
It's going quite well. I'm quite pleased with my drive today. I feel like I had a lousy first half of the season, just taking myself out of races, getting taken out of races. So the second half of this season, I just want to focus on dialing back the effort a little bit just to make sure that I keep the car pointed straight. So if anyone came up behind me today, I just kind of let them go and didn't fight too hard. Just focused on a consistent race and make sure I finish pointed straight.
Since you mentioned consistency, the next two tracks, first up is Portimao, and then after that is Silverstone. How do you feel going into those? And what do you think, since you're working on consistency, your focus is going to be to get ready for those?
Well, my normal preparation is to sign up for the race 30 minutes beforehand and do the 30 minutes of practice. So I don't see any change to that. I race a lot of different series, so I don't put a lot of practice into any of them really. I just out here to have fun and just same as this race. Just focus on having a consistent race. Don't fight anybody too hard, and just keep the car pointed straight.
Okay. Since you do only 30 minutes of practice, I'm going to name off a couple tracks here that close out the season, and you have to tell me which one you are looking forward to, okay? So,
Right.
Portimao, Silverstone, Monza, Misano, and Watkins Glen.
I think I'm looking most forward to Algarve, actually. I quite
Ooh.
enjoyed driving that track. We did it in IMSA Vintage as well as Lotus 49 earlier in the season. So I really enjoyed those tracks. So certainly looking forward to that one next week.
And Portimao, one of the newer tracks on iRacing here, always an interesting adventure. And Cam, thank you so much for coming and racing with us, logging on to Cam and being with us every single week.
Thanks, Joey. Really enjoy it. We'll see you again next week.
That was Cam Porter driving the 17, finishing in 12th place today. And that is going to wrap up the show. Thanks to the team, Michael, Eddie, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. As you just heard us talking about, the next race is 1 week from today, May 5th, the same time, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, and they will be racing Portimao. Be sure to check out all of the other broadcasts listed. And up next on this channel for GSRC is the MX5 World Sim Series. They got a 2-race combo, Zandvoort and Lebanon, that starts here in just a few hours, 3:50 p.m. Eastern Time. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.